That's it now. Good morning, colleagues. I would like to advise everyone present that this meeting is being recorded to be uploaded to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. I have the discretion to terminate or suspend filming if, in my opinion, allowing filming to continue would prejudice the proceedings of the meeting. Members are asked to keep microphones muted and only switch on when called to speak and switch off again when finished speaking. Thank you, Ms. Wyber. Can we take the first item?
Item 1 is applications for planning permission. 1A is the siting of a shipping container at 120 Acre Road for the use as a hot food takeaway, and the recommendation is to refuse the application. I'll now pass you over to the planning officer.
Thank you, Ms. Wyber. Good morning, Mr. Briggs. Take it away.
Good morning. Yes, hopefully everybody can see the presentation in front.
We've got that, thank you.
As said, this is for siting of a shipping container for use as a hot food takeaway. The recommendation is to refuse the application. There have been 3 objections received from local residents and 23 letters of support submitted by the applicant on behalf of customers of the existing shop. And I'll discuss the points of objection and support later in the presentation. The application site is within the Maryhill ward and consists of an existing single-storey convenience store and an adjacent area of hard standing. That's just to the east of the shop unit. The site is located on the south side of Acre Road. The site is adjacent to the Acre Community Hall and is also adjacent to an area of open space, and beyond that is Maryhill Park, and there is an existing mugga there as well. The nearest residential properties are the flats at 1 Acre Drive, which are 23 metres to the south of the site. And between the site and Acre Road, there is an unadopted area of hard standing. The next slides are site photos. So this is a view from the north, looking south towards the existing shop unit. You can see the area of hard standing to the east of the unit, which would be proposed for the siting of the shipping container. You can also see the Acre Community Hall to the right, and behind is that's number 3 Acre Drive, and number 1 Acre Drive is just hidden by a mature tree. Just another view from the front of the building, seeing the side elevation a wee bit better. There's an existing door opening, but that has been blocked up apparently, and also can see the community hall adjacent. And finally, just a view from the rear of the shop, which shows the footpath which runs from the residential properties up to Acre Road. In terms of the planning history, the site was subject to a planning application earlier this year for a proposal of the same description. This earlier application was submitted without the benefit of pre-application discussions and was refused under the scheme of delegation on the 12th of June. In summary, the key reasons for refusal were that the proposal would detract from the visual appearance of the building and would not improve the streetscape quality, that it would not provide suitable or adequate waste storage, and that would not provide suitable ventilation of the kitchen to ensure the dispersal of cooking and heating fumes. The current application has also been submitted without pre-application discussions. However, the applicant has attempted to respond to the reasons for refusal. The key changes are that the reduction in the length of the shipping container from 9 metres to 8 metres. The plans now indicate 3 wheelie bins in front of the shipping container to serve as litter bins for customers. And there's also been timber cladding introduced onto the shipping container. In addition, there's the inclusion of a kitchen extract mounted to the roof of the container. Just moving on to the proposals now. This is the block plan as existing, and just showing the area of hard standing to the east again. And this is the block plan as proposed, showing the shipping container here, and there are 3 wheelie bins in front. The container would be sited to the east side of the shop unit, connected through a side door into the retail unit. I'll just show, this is now view of the ground floor plan as existing. This shows the front elevation of the shops. It's a different orientation from the previous drawings. This is a location of the proposed shipping container. As you can see, there's a blocked up entrance and that will be opened up. So this is now the ground floor plan as proposed. The containers on the east side of the shopping unit, a roller shutter is proposed to the front of the shipping container. Internally, there are doors indicated on the plans here, which would serve as commercial frontage when the container is open. As mentioned, the 3 wheelie bins are adjacent to the front entrance to the shipping container for use of customers. The proposed hours of operation are indicated as 8 AM to 8 PM, Monday to Saturday, and 8 AM to 5 PM on Sunday, and these are within the opening hours of the existing retail unit. Ventilation of the commercial kitchen is to be by a single extract fan, which is indicated on the drawings, the roof plan drawing and the ground floor plan as well. Just quickly, the existing elevations, so front elevation is existing and the side elevation is existing, and then just showing the shipping container adjacent, abutting the store, and it would be timber clad, and just showing the timber cladding again to the side and rear elevations. Moving on to the policy assessment, the two main issues to consider in the assessment are whether the proposal accords with the development plan and whether any other material considerations, including the representations, have been satisfactorily addressed. In respect of A, the development plan comprises MPF4 and the City Development Plan. A comprehensive policy assessment has been provided within the committee report, but I'd like to highlight the following key policies on design, waste and recycling, and amenity impacts. So MPF4 Policy 14, Design Quality in Place, states that development proposals will be supported where they're consistent with the 6 qualities of successful places, i.e. healthy, pleasant, connected, distinctive, sustainable and adaptable. This is supportive of the aims and design-led approach promoted by the City Development Plan policies CDP1 and SG1 placemaking. SG1 has advice for proposals for alterations to shops and other commercial buildings. Proposals should respect the period, style and architectural character of the building. They should not detract from the historic character of a listed building or property within a conservation area, and they shouldn't adversely affect residential amenity as a result of noise or vibration, etc. The nature of the proposal, the use of a timber-clad shipping container as an extension to the existing shop, would not respect the period or style of the existing building and would distract from the visual appearance of the building and the surrounding street scene. The proposal is therefore not considered to comply with MPF4 Policy 14 or CDP1 placemaking. MPF4 Policy 12, Zero Waste, advises that development proposals that are likely to generate waste when operational, including commercial properties, will set out how much waste the proposal is expected to generate and how it will be managed, including provision to maximise waste reduction and waste separation at source, measures to minimise the cross-contamination of materials through appropriate segregation and storage of waste, convenient access for the collection of waste, and recycling and localised waste management facilities. CDP policy SG1 placemaking also states that new developments must include appropriate and well-designed provision for waste storage, recycling and collection, which meets the city's wider placemaking objections. All waste recycling areas must be located discreetly so as not to have adverse visual impact or cause traffic noise nuisance to neighbours. 3 wheelie bins are indicated adjacent to the front of the shipping container, which are indicated to be for the use of customers. These bins would be unsecured and would not provide for the storage of waste and recycling required by a hot food takeaway business. While there is some space to the side of the shipping container for additional bins, this is not enclosed and would likely lead to waste not being contained adequately. This proposed bin storage location is not discreetly positioned and would negatively impact on the visual amenity of the area, and as a result the proposal is considered to be contrary to MPF4 Policy 12, Zero Waste, and CDP1 placemaking. Policy CDP4 and SG4, Network of Centres, contain assessment guidelines for food, drink and entertainment uses. The proposal is considered to generally comply with the locational criteria for hot food takeaways, insofar as the unit is not directly adjacent to residential buildings and wouldn't result in a concentration of such uses. The hours of operation are proposed to be 8 AM to 8 PM Monday to Saturday and 8 AM to 5 PM on Sunday, and these hours are considered appropriate for a site that's not in a town centre and is near to residential properties. Assessment Guideline 12 of CDP4 also requires full details of proposals for treatment and disposal of cooking and heating fumes. The proposal would be served with a single roof-mounted vent, but there's insufficient information to determine if cooking and heating fumes would be suitably treated and dispersed using this method. While this may have been possible to condition, given the other policy failures, this has been included as an additional reason for refusal. Moving on to other material considerations, there were 3 objections received, and the points are briefly summarised in the slide. Firstly, that the proposal is adjacent to play area and would obstruct the view of a small children's play park. This is noted, although it's not in itself considered a reason for refusal. There's existing antisocial behaviour. The shop has become a gathering point for children from Summerston and the surrounding areas, and there has been antisocial behaviour associated with this. Again, this is noted, although it's not in itself considered a material planning consideration and is primarily a matter for the police. There's a complaint about existing litter problem, that the litter that comes from the shop is creating an amenity issue in the surrounding area. This is noted, and the proposal is not considered to provide adequate waste storage. There's also a concern about the letters of support that the shopkeeper had printed documents for residents to sign. The letters of support are considered to meet the legislative requirements to be considered as representations to this application. There were 23 letters of support, and the points are briefly summarised as follows: that I would like to express support for the plans. I think it would be positive, it would create jobs and deliver an essential food service, and that I would use the business. Again, this support is noted, but it's not considered to outweigh the proposal's variance with the development plan. In conclusion, the proposed siting of a shipping container for use as a hot food takeaway would result in a development that would detract from the visual appearance of the building, would not improve the streetscape quality, and is therefore considered inconsistent with the 6 qualities of successful places. The proposal would not provide suitable or adequate waste storage and would therefore negatively impact on the visual amenity of the surrounding area. And the proposals do not demonstrate suitable ventilation of the kitchen to ensure the treatment and dispersal of cooking and heating fumes to the detriment of the local residential amenity. The proposal was not considered to be in accordance with the relevant policies within NPF4 and the City Development Plan, and there are no material considerations which outweighed the proposal's variance with the Development Plan. The recommendation is therefore to refuse this application, and 4 reasons for refusal have been provided. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. Thank you for the presentation. Do we have questions for the officer? Councillor Blanche.
Thank you. Just two brief ones that are variations on the same theme. Waste storage and ventilation. To what extent are we able to control those by condition?
I think ventilation is something that could potentially be controlled by condition in this particular instance, because the unit is 23 metres from the nearest residential property. Essentially, we'd be looking for evidence of appropriate treatment of the heating and cooking fumes before it was released at that what is a relatively low level. In terms of bin storage, there just doesn't appear to be much opportunity for secure, discretely sited waste storage within the application site boundary. And again, I suppose the frustration is that the application was submitted without the benefit of pre-application discussions, and that would have probably been, you know, something that would have been discussed at that stage.
Yeah. My other question was about existing bins at the shop, but I can see one there in the picture already, so that was all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Allam.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the presentation, Ian. My question was, I don't know if I heard you right in your presentation, there will be access to this container via the store itself?
That's correct, yes. I can bring that up. So there's an existing sort of roller shutter door in the shop itself, and they're proposing to reopen that. And it's primarily because I think the shipping unit, shipping container will not have space for a WC, so it's using the facilities within the shop. But
sorry, just one. Yeah, just see that the shop itself, is it an off sales?
I believe it's licensed. I don't have that information, but I think in the some of the objections there was complaints about alcohol. Yeah, I'm not sure if possibly one of my colleagues can help out with that question.
I've not seen any.
No.
Seen any hands up, Mr. Briggs?
No problem. Yeah.
But
Okay,
I'd be rather surprised if it wasn't licensed, though.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Anyway, thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Allam. Councillor Wardrop.
Thank you for the presentation. First, I wanted just to check the bin arrangements, because there's already a bin sited outside for the shop. They would be locating the bins next to the existing bin, which currently has been obviously in use. And
Actually, I'm not entirely sure that is a bin that's in that photograph. I think it might be a cabinet, in fact.
right. Do we know where the shop's existing bin provision? Do they bring their bin out at a specific time? Is that what's required?
Obviously, this is a long-established retail unit. In the photographs that I have in front of me, it would appear that the bin storage is internal and it would be brought out for collection.
I think that would need to be a condition of any application, because litter's a major concern for a lot of people. I just also wondered about car parking, because there's a car parked outside the entrance.
Yes.
Is that a designated parking bay?
No, it's just an unadopted area of hard standing. I'm not sure where the ownership lies for it. It's out with the application site boundary, and there are bollards there which would suggest that it's intended as a pedestrian area. There isn't a parking issue per se in the local area. Obviously Acre Road is quite quiet at present.
But there isn't any cycle parking, it says, so that would need to be a condition as well.
Yeah.
Right, thanks very much.
Bailey Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Mr. Briggs, for that presentation. I guess my question's on the back of Councillor Allam's point about the use of the access point from going into the shop. Just to clarify, is that only for staff? So would it be people who were going into the shop are able to access in through that way? Yeah,
that's correct. I'll just bringing up the the plan again, you can see there's the access for customers is from the front, and there's a serving area within the shipping container. That access is actually directly into the kitchen area at the back, which is a stove, a fryer, and sinks, and a fridge freezer in that location.
Okay, so it's only for starting. And the other question I had, Chair, is I think I know the answer to this, but in terms of issues to do with antisocial behaviour, obviously that would be a matter for licensing, and we're licensing standards officers, and obviously my other hat on as vice convener of the board, that's something that we would look at. Do we as a planning authority, and I guess this is more general, speak to licensing when these things are coming in to check and see if our LSOs have had any complaints? I know if something was coming to the board, for example, and we had an objection from residents, the first thing we would ask our LSOs is, has there been any complaints? And that's very helpful to then know if there has been any issues. I'm just checking to see if we do that as a committee.
Certainly, we would expect that you know, the planning officers, should there be you know, an issue with licensing, that there would be some conversation between licensing and planning, but certainly not as a committee. We don't routinely.
No, apologies, Chair. That came across wrong. Not the committee. I was meaning as Mr. Briggs or anybody else spoke to licensing, and has there been issues? Apologies, Chair. I worded that wrong. No, I had enough coffee this morning.
Or maybe too much.
No problem. Just to answer, well, I think the short answer here is no. That there hasn't been a discussion with licensing about the existing operation, largely because it was being assessed as a standalone hot food takeaway. I appreciate there is that the door access, and it is operating as essentially an extension to the existing shop, but it's also that in terms of antisocial behaviour, that generally we're you know, these matters would be dealt with through licensing, or by the police in extreme situations, and that essentially that would be the correct control mechanism for it.
I'm just aware, Chair, if we're asked to put weight on objections that came in, particularly to do with antisocial behaviour, it would be helpful if we knew, because I know how difficult it is to try and pinpoint a local shop as an issue that causes antisocial behaviour. We've had this discussion many times. You know, because somewhere sells alcohol doesn't necessarily mean that's where the alcohol's been bought or where it's been consumed, or whatever else. So I just think if we've been asked to use some weight onto that, it would be helpful to know that. But that was very clear, Mr. Briggs. Thanks very much for that.
Thank you. Miss Wyber, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I don't know if anybody's noticed it. There has been put into the chat. Neil Moran in the NRS has put into the chat just in response to, I think it's Councillor Blanch's question, to say that there is alcohol advertising images of the shop front online. So that perhaps answers that question. And also that there's no external bin storage for the existing business. Just if that helps.
Thank you, Ms. Wyber. That's helpful. I tend to keep the attendee view open so I can see whose hand goes up and the order of that. So I tend to miss the chat. So thank you. That's helpful. And as you say that, of course, I have the same view that suggests that it's also an off sales in front of me. So so that's helpful. Bailey Raja.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Ian, for informative information that you provided. It's helpful. Looking at the shop, I know the area well, and I think the area is morely derelict because of this park, and it's not been, I don't know, well used or so. But looking at it, if you're adding a further unit, I think that might help rather than objections being raised, antisocial behavior. But having a license in the area itself is antisocial behavior, could be highlighted. And I don't see, Thomas Keir asked that question as well. Antisocial behavior brought by the licensing more than a kebab and curry shops. And I think that probably brings some sort of people in to counter that. The only concern is that bins must be stored somewhere. I mean, having a shop of license, they must have a bins store somewhere, either outside or because the space is big enough to have this disable bins outside the shop. Secondly, we don't have the report, as Thomas was asking for the report of this antisocial by the police. Nothing can be provided. I think we should look at it generating more, but my only concern is entrance to this container is via shop, or just they have a separate door for people to go and purchase products like curries or having something to buy. Our units on shop is only used for the toilets, so that has to have a clarity. Is an independent door that people can go and purchase. They need to go via shop.
Yeah, I think in answer to that question, it would operate for the purposes of the customers. It'd be operating as two separate units. The ordering and waiting areas within the shipping container, and the customers wouldn't have to enter the shop to use the hot food takeaway service. I think in answer to the question about bin storage, part of the issue is the location plan. The site boundary is tight around the shop unit and the adjacent area of hard standing, and there isn't really that much scope there for additional bin storage. Potentially, there might be some opportunity to include an enclosed bin storage area, but that hasn't formed part of the proposals.
Can I come back?
Of course, you can.
Yeah, it's just Ian. If the unit is not big enough, how could they create further more unit for the storage space? Secondly, I'm sure there must be a storage space, storage bins somewhere around the corner from in the shop, outside the shop, rather than creating more bins.
Yeah, there isn't external bin storage associated with the shop at the moment. It would appear that they are storing their bins internally, just to show the sort of photograph. This I don't believe this is a bin store. It's too small, and I think it looks more like an equipment cabinet to me.
Looks like a utilities cabinet, doesn't it?
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Probably just for the outside people throwing the paper bags or something like that.
So yeah, I don't have information about the existing bin storage, but I can only assume that it must be internal. And given the type of shop, that perhaps that's not unusual to have some internal bin storage and presenting that for commercial collection.
Can we add a condition to have a storage bin? Because if you're going to suppose if you're going to go through with this, we need to have other storage somewhere to put the rubbish. So can we put condition this?
I think the question would be, is the red line boundary going to allow the location of a bin storage in an appropriate location, and also would it be large enough for the needs of the business and also the customers? I have my doubts about that, just in terms of the red line boundary and the siting of the shipping container. There's very little space around it. It's the applicant that's defined that red line boundary, and I'm not aware of whether they have any control over the surrounding land. Certainly, they wouldn't have control to the south and to the east, because that is it's amenity green space for the housing.
Yeah. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Bill Scanlon.
Good morning, Chair. Morning, colleagues. Ian, I maybe missed it there. Could we go back to the main picture again?
Of course. I think I'm going the wrong way there. Hang on a minute. Here we go.
Yeah, Ian, I'm maybe a bit confused here, but I've not heard anybody mentioning it, or it's in the papers. The blue huts to the side, are they part of this application, or if not, what are they?
No, this is called it's the Acre Community Hall, and it's run by the local community, by volunteers. It's essentially used as a space for sort of after school clubs, etc. But it's a community hall.
And do they have views on this application? Has there been any contact made by them?
There's been no representations directly from the community group. As mentioned, there were 3 objections from local residents, and they did mention a discussion at a group, but it wasn't substantiated by a representation from a community group itself.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Wardrope.
Thank you. It just occurred to me that there's a kitchen shown in the existing shop unit. I just wondered if that had ever been discussed as being reorganised to provide storage. Will they need to use that kitchen if there is an extension provided by the kitchen by the container?
That's again, it's not a discussion. Unfortunately, the application hasn't been subject to pre-application discussions, and it's been assessed essentially on the basis of the drawings submitted. And I think that there may well be opportunity to reconfigure the store, whether that's within the gift of the applicant. So I believe that they're a lessee rather than the owner, and also whether they actually wish to do that as well. It's in terms of the operation of their existing shop unit. I suppose the point really is that the principle of a hot food takeaway hasn't been rejected by the planning authority in the previous decision. It was down to the detailed design of the proposal that we were concerned about. I think a more standard extension to the shop with, as you say, with some well thought out bin storage and other design considerations would have been a different proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Allen. Excuse me.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me back in. Just very briefly, Ian, with regards to the issue of the bin storage, I'm assuming the current owner of the USave store is the one who's putting the proposal in for the application for this fast food container at the side. When we're talking or discussing about bin storage, he must have bins already on site for his cardboard waste and packaging and all that kind of stuff. What about regards to food waste? Would that be something that he's already?
It would clearly be separate. I don't have details about the internal waste storage provision in the existing shop, but certainly a hot food takeaway has particular requirements. There'd be a need for segregated food waste and recycling and general waste. So yeah, that there would be a need for certainly upgraded bin storage on top of what's being provided at present.
So the current bin provision for the store, would that not be sufficient for the food outlet?
It's essentially I think that the hot food takeaway would have additional it would have additional waste storage requirements. It's not been quantified within the application, and it's not been indicated in the application. So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Bailey Gallagher.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for your presentation, Ian. Could you call up the floor plans of the site with the container? Thanks. Now, the question I have is in regards to that utilities cabinet. Is there actually space with the location of the container next to the utilities cabinet? Will that actually be safe, or will they have to move it?
Definitely they would need to move that utilities cabinet to accommodate the shipping container. I can certainly show if I flick back to the photograph there. That's in fact, I think this is a more recent photograph, and I'm not sure if I'm able to. I don't think I can really zoom in, but it appears that in the more recent photograph, the cabinet is of a different dimension there. This was taken in the summer. So, but regardless, that would have to move. There would have to be a reconfiguration there.
Thanks. And if the applicant is the lessee of the shop, do they have the rights to actually do that, or would they have to be dealing with the owner of the site to arrange that?
It's likely they would need permission of the owner, but you know, obviously don't have the details of the terms of their lease. But yes, they would need to get the owner's permission on top of any planning permission.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. I see no further hands up, and I think most of the questions, certainly any of the questions I've had, have probably been asked already. So I think we should probably move into some deliberation and decision making. We have a recommendation to refuse this application. And I have to say that given that the lack of information I think we have, certainly in terms of containment of waste, it's clearly not appropriate for the waste for this business to be kept in the public realm, which is what appears to be being suggested. It's actually going to be contained outside the shipping unit. And there doesn't seem to be any further information that would help us in that regard. I think we probably could have dealt with the issue regarding cooking fumes and the vent into the ceiling. You know, we possibly could have had some sort of condition that may well have been able to deal with that. But certainly with regard to the containment of rubbish outside the unit, gives me great concern, not least that there seems to be some issue of antisocial behaviour outside the unit, and that I think poses a major problem for the area. Certainly in the visualizations I've got in front of me from Google Maps and whatever, it all looks reasonably tidy, but that could unwind rather badly. And I do note that there were some complaints regarding littering and antisocial behaviour of that nature. So certainly from my perspective, I'm not inclined to think otherwise, that we should refuse this application. I think once again, though, it's rather unfortunate there's not been, you know, that the applicant hasn't taken the opportunity to try and have some pre-application discussions, which may well have improved what we have in front of us today. Happy to take other views, though. Councillor Allam.
Thanks, Chair. I think I agree with you to some extent. I think the issue I see with this particular application or granting it is the congregation of youth potentially causing, you know, issues for local residents. You know, they go into the store, buy the alcohol, and they'll go next door and buy, you know, fish and chips or whatever, a kebab, and congregating outside, putting other customers off. So suppose, a bit unfair for the shop owner at the moment as it is. But that's my only concern. I think the bin issue, yes, you're right. We probably should have had more information with regards to that. They should have probably been a bit more, involved with, providing us with more information. So that's my concern at the moment. But I'll wait and hear what everyone else's views are. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Allam. Councillor McLean.
Sorry, Chair, I was adjusting my screen there as you spoke. Yeah, I think I kind of share concerns that have been expressed about this. One thing I would focus on is the placemaking principle. I know the area reasonably well, and it's a pleasant enough area, but there's maybe an opportunity there to enhance, put in something attractive, which would help the placemaking of the area. And I don't think this does that. A shipping container with timber cladding maybe isn't what the area needs really. So, and again, the other reasons are all stated. I think lack of information about waste and there's other policy failures. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McLean. Bailey Kerr.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, there's trolleys going past my office just in case there's too much noise. I'm of an alternative view here. I think that this application, to me, the issues that have been raised in terms of bins, I think, it may be something that we can condition, but I also think that there is free bins going to be added on outside. There's clearly bins outside of the shop in itself as well. So, and there will be bin storage. I know there will be, because every store has to have bin storage in terms of what it is. I'm a bit surprised that we don't have that detail here today, and our officers can't provide that. But on the objection part that Councillor Allam had mentioned, we are purely speculating here. From the photographs that we've seen, I know this area pretty well. My fiance's from this area, so I know it pretty well. It actually is a very attractive area. When we were up doing visits before, Councillor Butler had made this comment to me about how attractive the area is in terms of it's very, very tidy. We're purely speculating on objections where we don't have any evidence to back up what has been said. We've got 3 objections and we've got 20 free letters of support from local residents. The 3 objections mention antisocial behaviour. We can't link antisocial behaviour to this store. We can't assume that just because somewhere sells alcohol, that youths are standing outside drinking alcohol. We can't assume that because there's going to be a container, that's going to be worse. That's a complete issue for our LSOs and for licensing. It's not an issue for planning at all when it comes to this sort of stuff. If local residents have issues with that, they can, put in a complaint, speak to the licensing board, and our LSOs will go out and investigate. But from what I can see, there's no issue in terms of any antisocial behaviour that's existing here in terms of to do with this exact property or to do with this store. There may be issues to do with use. That may be because right next to it there's a park, literally around the corner is the massive Asda. It may be to do with that rather than to do with this individual store. And I think that we are at risk of speculating heavily here and, condemning a small business who's trying to make a living here, with what I think would be quite a good addition to this place. We've had no objection from the local community centre that's next door. I suspect many of the kids and many of the other people who are there would like to come into somewhere where they can get somewhere that's fast food takeaway. I suspect, I don't know, and I'm speculating here, but since other colleagues have done so as well, that it's going to be something like a rolling sausage. I don't think they're talking about having a kebab shop inside a container. So I think that this application, the guys have came in, spoke to our officers, it was refused. They've come back with a revised planning application that I think actually makes a lot of our requirements. So I would be supportive of this, Chair. I'm waiting to see what other colleagues have to say first as well, but that's just my view. I think that we're putting heavily speculative viewpoints onto what is an application I think meets a lot of the points that we've asked for.
Thank you, Bailey Kerr, but I know that you've also speculated as to what the business will, how it will actually perform.
I think I'm allowed to, Chair, considering where the speculation has happened.
I guess so, but nevertheless, I think we're having to deal with some of the issues that are in front of us rather than what we imagine. So let's.
I couldn't agree more, Chair. I couldn't agree more.
Bailey Raja.
Thanks, Chair. I think I couldn't agree more what Thomas Kerr said. We are both, yourself and Imran has given their decision prior to the library this going into this elaboration, because I run local shops for many years from 68 onwards, and I've know those shops, the licensing and the kebab shops, and I've not seen a tidier place than anywhere whole of Glasgow surrounding. So looking smart park as well, and it's not rubbish around. Bringing a kebab shop is not going to bring more rubbish. I think you're holding back the people who want to come along and bring some sort of life into the area, because area, if you keep it without occupying their unit, they might bring more crowd into the area standing doing nothing. And if they have a more something to buy and eat or something, and 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 10 o'clock, that brings the light into the area. So I don't think that this is going to bring a disturbance to the residents of the area. If the residents area knew that they're going to bring any disturbance or disobedience, they should have objected to this plan. So I don't see any objections coming along. And you're only rejecting it because of the bins or because of the storage. I think that condition could be, I have started from beginning, I said that we could add that condition into the, but small businesses, I think this is a second attempt they are trying, and they have come back with a revised plan. And I don't think it will be very unfair that we are blocking people who want to come and put some into area, and blocking because the issue that relates with the bins. I don't think so. I don't think the bin is the issue. We could put that condition on. So I will be seconding this motion by the Thomas Keir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bailey Raja. I'm not sure that we are able to condition the issue of bins, given that the plans we have in front of us show no internal storage. Okay, Bailey Gallagher.
Thank you, Chair. The issue of littering and the placemaking problem, I think that's just part of one objection, and I'm persuaded by the lack of objection from anybody in the community centre to basically to not object to this application. In my own words, there is a serious problem in the parks with food waste being dumped in bins, in the public bins, but that's not a planning problem, nor is it a licensing problem. It's an issue for the actual public enforcement of the basically the bylaws. So I don't think that littering, it may occur, but I think that's actually not a problem that we actually have the right to address. In terms of the waste storage, if it's a requirement that the food waste needs to be stored internally, then that's an issue. If it's as Bailey Kerr said, I see 3 bins in as part of the application. I suspect that these are intended. This is me speculating once again, but I suspect that this is intended to be the food waste and other waste storage for the shop. Again, I wonder if we can condition regular waste uplifts, commercial waste uplifts, to make sure that this doesn't turn into an attractive nuisance for pests. And the other issue that we have up for us is the placemaking principle. It's a porta cabin with some cladding, but is that any less of an intrusive thing? Sorry, not it's a shipping container with cladding, but is that not equivalent to a porta cabin? And we see plenty of these. So I don't know that there's that much to actually object to in this application, but we'll wait for everybody else to say their piece.
Okay, thank you, Bailey Gallagher. Mr. Dale, do you want to come in? I'll bring in Councillor Burke in a second. Just
very conscious of time. Just a quick point around protocol. Bailey Gallagher, you were saying there that you were swayed by the fact that the community facility hadn't objected, and that was indicative from your perspective. I think that we probably have to treat that entirely impartially. If there was a letter of support or a letter of objection, I think we can give weight to that. But the fact that they haven't objected, I think that's probably we can't give any weight to that. They may well be for a variety of reasons why they haven't objected. Just so that we're not giving that undue weight. Does that make sense?
My apologies then.
No, just trying to keep us all 100% accurate. Thank you.
I'm also, I think that the point, and again, I believe that there is no active community council in the area who would be one of the statutory consultees. As I understand it, I'm not going to die in a ditch on that one, but I do believe that the Maryhill ward, I'm not sure that they've got any active community councils at the moment. So, Councillor Burke.
Thanks, Chair. I just, coming in to agree that I think, the container I don't think is a problem, because in my ward we have a few containers that are opened for not some of them not for food, but one of them is, and it's been very, very successful. So the container I think is a good idea if they kit it out in the right manner. But for me, some of the issues that we spoke about, I think there's a lot of lack of information here. That makes it a wee bit more difficult for us to make a decision. But the fact that we've had 23 people supporting this application is kind of indicating to me that the community are quite, keen for this to happen. As long as we make sure that we do have the right, things in place to make sure that littering does not become a problem. And I don't think that we can speculate that youth disorder is going to happen because of that. So I'm veering towards supporting this, but I think, there is definitely some lack of information that makes it a bit more difficult for us. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Burke. Bailey Kerr.
Thank you, Chair. Just to be totally accurate, there is a community council within that area. Maryhill and Summerston Community Council does exist and meets regularly. So I know
active.
that from I know that from local knowledge. So just to put that on record. So we're fully...
lovely. Thank you for that. That was helpful. I know there's one or two that are not active in the Maryhill area. Okay, colleagues. I think that's probably, we've given this a good thrash around.
Councillor Wardrop, that's
sorry. Yes, I see that. Sorry, I beg your pardon, Councillor Wardrop.
Yeah, I just wanted to support the refusal, based on the concerns about placemaking and the bins and the lack of information. I know the applicant has made some changes as part of the appeal, but we've still not got all the information we need. My sense is that it'd be easier if just a street trader licence was arranged and a street trader came along and did takeaways in the area if there's demand for that to happen, rather than this type of structure being installed there. I think it's not been properly discussed with the planners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Wardrop. Okay, as I mentioned that, when we started into deliberation, I'm certainly proposing that as in the papers we refuse this application. Councillor Wardrop has indicated that she is happy to second that, and as I understand it, Bailey Kerr is suggesting an amendment that we grant this application, and as I understand it, Bailey Raja is seconding that. In terms of the reasons for granting the application, are you able to help us there, Bailey Kerr, as to what are the reasons that mitigate against the issues around refusal?
Yeah, so I think, Chair, I mean, I'm obviously the officer's duty to make me sound more intelligent in terms of how this goes down in minutes, but I think the main reason as to why I'm supportive is I think it would enhance the area. I think that there's adequate proposals in place in terms of storage, in terms of reducing it, and I think the applicant has come in to make sure. They've already been refused once. They've come in to try and work with officers to try and come back with something else that I think looks a bit more proposing. I also want to back small businesses, so I don't know how that would be worded in terms of how we go through the whole rigmarole. I'm sure that Mr. Dale or someone would be able to assist with that, but that was my reasons for supporting. The only question I did have, Chair, is around the particular issue around conditions, and to see if it is possible for us to condition an issue with storage in terms of bins. I don't know if that's possible because I've not had officers come in on that point, just to check if that is possible or not before obviously we move to some sort of division.
Yeah, I mean, my sense of it is that, you know, given the plans that we have in front of us, it's not showing any place where bin storage could be taken internally, but I'm happy if Mr. Briggs or Mr. Dale is able to help us here. Mr. Briggs.
Certainly, we do regularly attach conditions requiring details of bin storage for formal approval. Generally, it's where, you know, as I mentioned in the report, our major concern was that there isn't a location internally that's identified for that, and there didn't appear to be a good location externally. But that's by the by. A condition could be attached to that effect, and we would see what the applicant came forward with.
Yeah, no, I would appreciate that if it is obviously written, depending on how it goes. I would appreciate that condition being added. And I think just from my own looking at the plans, you know, there's a easy solution. It may not be internally, but they could bring the container down a bit, have the bins at the back, and then be able to fence that off. That would then make it a closed off area for them to be able to dispose of their waste. So you know, I may have just helped them out a little bit there, but you know, just looking at the plans, that may be a way of trying to do it. So I'd be appreciative if we could add that condition on, but I've outlined why I would be supportive of this application, and I'm happy to move that's the case.
Okay.
Can I just clarify?
Thank you, Billy Kerr.
Sorry, can I just clarify? There was a couple of other things mentioned for conditions. One was the suggestion there'd be a condition regarding commercial waste uplift. That condition that these are wanting added in. And there was also a mention of a condition regarding cooking arrangements.
Yeah, there's detail of the ventilation.
So it would be there's again a standard condition that could be attached, which would be regarding the treatment and dispersal of heating and cooking odours.
And the final one was regarding the moving of the ancillary cabinet that was outside the shop. Is that another condition that we'd be wanting to add?
Yes, yeah, the container couldn't be sited where it's proposed without the reciting of the utilities cabinet. So I think in terms of condition, we would need to have some sort of detail around that, whether that is possible indeed.
Can also suggest if members were minded to grant that the hours of operation would be controlled as well.
Yes, quite.
Right.
Chair, I've got a point of information.
Okay, thank you, Billy Raja. On you go.
Thanks. Two things that you know, alarmed me. Then when planner discussed with this applicants, did they not ask for the bins questions, and did they not ask these questions that we are asking from the applicants? I mean, these are relevant questions to be asked. Where are you going to store your bins? Where are you going to move the rubbish? How are you going to have the extractor fitted? All these questions are related with the applicants. So I don't know why this question.
Billy Raja, I think that's one of the issues, is that the applicant has not engaged with the planning officers. That's been the problem.
Right.
Had they engaged appropriately, almost certainly we would have had a nuanced application in front of us that may well have given us some more comfort than we've currently got at the moment. Hence the reason that I'm proposing the refusal.
But here you didn't let me finish. I think you've tried to express your opinions, but I didn't finish my conversation before you just jumped into your conclusion. What I'm trying to say is that these questions, either applicant themselves or the planners, and the reason is not been mentioned in the application that they have not been engaging with the applicants along with the planners. So there's a second application he has applied, and I don't understand that planner didn't have access to the applicants. That's my question. So, I mean, I've got nothing in writing that applicants has not been approached or not been discussed with the planners. So that is a point that I wanted to, understand why it's not been achieved. And I mean, we are now stuck on this application just because of the bins, storage, and also extractor, because that's the main issue with the cooking. They do need the extractor to have smell taken out. So, and thirdly, you're imposing to move the containers. So I don't know how you'll be able to move containers when he's got static containers sitting there. So I'm not in favor of putting that clause of moving containers. I mean, that will cost a lot of money to extract somewhere else. So it has to be thoroughly think before you can decide. So I'm not in favor of clause 3rd imposing to move the containers around. And I'm happy to go along with the providing bins and access, but not the 3rd clause.
I'm not sure. I'm proposing to move any container. I'm suggesting we refuse this application. And I'll be honest, I think we're at the point. I think we need to move to division here and get to make a decision. I think we've thrashed this around adequately.
Right. We have a motion and an amendment. Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Wardrop, has moved that the application be refused for the reasons detailed in the papers. Councillor Thomas Kerr, seconded by Bailey Raja, has moved as an amendment that the planning application be granted subject to conditions. I'm now going to call out the roll and ask you to advise me whether or not you're voting for the motion or whether or not you're voting for the amendment. Councillor Andrew, motion or amendment?
For the motion.
Councillor Bailey Gallagher, motion or amendment?
Amendment.
Councillor Alam, motion or amendment?
Amendment, please.
Councillor Blench, motion or amendment?
Amendment, please.
Councillor Burke, motion or amendment?
Amendment, please.
Councillor Itlak, motion or amendment?
Amendment, please.
Bailey Kerr, motion or amendment?
Amendment, please.
Councillor Leinster, motion or amendment?
Motion, please.
Councillor McLean, motion or amendment?
Motion.
Bailey Raja, motion or amendment?
Amendment, please.
Bailey Scanlon, motion or amendment?
Amendment, please.
Councillor Wardrop, motion or amendment?
The motion to refuse, thank you.
There is 4 for the motion and 8 for the amendment. Therefore, the amendment to grant the application subject to conditions is accordingly declared to be carried. That now then takes us on to the second item on the agenda, which is item 1B, and it's an application for the Jimmy Johnson Academy of Football at 835 Cathcart Road, and it's for the erection of a boundary fence and gate to the sports pitch known as Cask and Brace. And I'll hand you over to the planner.
Thank you, Ms. Wyburn. Mr. Middleton.
Chair, could I briefly come in here?
Of course, please do, Councillor McLean.
Look, could I give apologies to the rest of the meeting? I have a meeting with the Housing Minister later this morning, so if I can give my apologies to the rest of the meeting, okay?
Thank you very
Good
much,
luck, Councillor
Councillor
McLean, at
McLean.
that meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Your endorsement, Bailey Kelp.
Okay, can I just check that you can see everything on the screen?
Yeah,
It's a large screen and you can hear me as well.
We've got that, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, sorry, I'll just set up the. Okay, thank you, Chair. So this is an application for the Jimmy Johnson Academy of Football at 235 Cathcart Road. It's within Cathcart Park, and it's for the erection of a fence around a sports pitch. Recommendation is to grant subject to conditions. So you can see the application site highlighted by the red line. It sits within Cathkin Park and sits within the ground known as the second Hampden Park. This is a satellite photo just showing the site in context. The red box here just showing the application.
Mr. Middleton, can I just stop you just for a second?
Yes.
There, I see Bailey Scanlon's hand raised, just in case some information he wants to.
Yeah,
Bailey
Chair,
Scanlon?
thank very much. Thanks, Chair. It's just obviously a wee misprint, I'm thinking there. It's actually 835 and not 235 Cathcart Road.
Oh, sorry, that's my fault. I'll just check I'll just check that that's correct within the committee report.
Okay,
yeah.
Chair, just a wee
835.
correction.
It is, yeah.
It's on the
835.
agenda
Apologies.
as well. It's 835. So it's correct.
Sorry, a wee typo there. So yes, it's 835. It is the same. The site is allocated shown here just on the plan. Sorry, I've just lost my screen there. So you can see the site here. This is just a satellite photo showing the site in context, and the red box just showing the location of the application. And just a closer view, the applicant is the lessee of the land, so the Jimmy Johnson Academy, who form part of the Jimmy Johnson Charitable Trust. Site forms part of Cathkin Park, highlighted in green here, just as shown, whilst at the same time being designated as a playing field, so the boundary of which is just shown by the blue line, and I'm just trying to demonstrate that with the cursor as well. This is a view of the pitch in question. The old terraces surround the site to the east, the south, and the west, but are not under control of the applicant. View of the north from the north, just showing the terraces again in the background. These provide an element of containment for the pitch. Car parking at the bottom and changing facilities to the right-hand side here. Looking south towards the pitch, that's a better view of the terraces in the background. Existing storage cabins that the club use, which will be relocated within the newly fenced off area. A view back towards the car park as it exists at the moment. See the pitch on the right hand side and benches. Those benches will remain as where they are. And the next few images are just kind of general shots across the pitch, just to give you a feel for the view north when you're not looking directly towards the terraces. So here's a view east along the pitch, and the fence would roughly be where my cursor is here, just running along. So there'd be a separation between the terrace and the pitch itself. A view north across the pitch. And just a kind of stitched view of the pitch, just to give you a kind of more panoramic shot of the site in question. So the proposal is to enclose the existing football pitch within a new fence. Majority of the fence is 3 metres high, with high and 5 metre sections behind the goals. Public access will still be maintained around the pitch and around the terraces, just shown by that hatched red line, which you can see running right round the site there. This is just a detail of the fence in question, quite standard for this type of enclosure. The applicant has provided a draft landscaping plan which shows a new path, just shown here again with the pointer, a bund and some tree planting along the north of the site. These were requested by us just to try and reduce the visual impact of the fence when looking south. Just a crop version really of the same plan shown, so you can see the blue dashes where the bund will be, the bunds will be. The brown kind of greyish is just the new path. These are the existing benches here and additional ones either side of the path. And the solid blue line is just the fence line. The main assessment for this application is against CDP1 and SG1. Visual impact really in design of the fence is what we're considering. We have made reference to policy 21 of MPF4 and CDP6 of the development plan, just to reconfirm that the land is allocated as a sports area, a playing field, and that this proposal would not impact on that detrimentally, as the allocation would remain the same. If anything, the policy supports the investment in these areas. There's no change of use proposed or no change of use resulting from the erection of the fence. There is the issue of the wider public park, obviously, but we've aimed to address this through the design of the fence and the inclusion of a bund with tree planting, so as to limit its visual impact on the wider enjoyment of the park. As explained within the committee report, we consider that the landscaping will improve any visual impacts, and that under the circumstances, the resulting development would have a neutral impact on the character of the area and is therefore supportable. The application received 199 representations, 187 of which have expressed an objection to the proposal and 12 have stated their support of the proposal. The letters of objection include representations from Councillors Doherty, Bruce and Sadiq, as well as from Mount Florida Community Council. Please just know that there's a correction in the number of representations. I know it says 198 on the screen there, and it says 198 on the within the committee report, but we were notified yesterday that of an objection from Councillor Bruce that we didn't have a copy of, but it was received on time. And it raises similar issues, or the same issues that have been picked up within other objections, so there's nothing new to consider within that. The objections are summarised and responded to within the report, but you can get a general feel of the main concerns, which focus on access, visual impact, planning policy, and concerns about flooding. Those letters of support focus on the benefits of securing the site and availability of other land in the vicinity, which could be used for informal use, including dog walking. A number of objectors raised concerns about the lack of community consultation, but this is a local application, so there's no statutory requirement to consult with the community. In support of the proposals, the applicant has provided a statement which confirms the investment they've put into the pitch so far. Will be investing in the future, and reasons just behind the installation and some examples of other fences. So you can see on the screen there, as well as investing their time and money into upgrading the pitch to its current condition. They've had issues with damage, just shown in this image, but it's also used informally by members of the public for general play, golf practice, dog walking, dog fouling, and they're looking to protect their investment and improve the pitch for the football community. I think they've indicated that they're looking to spend about £500,000 on the pitch and the facilities around this playing field. In their document, they've referenced a number of similar examples, all of which are within public parks. So here, the tennis courts in Queen's Park, Glasgow Green football pitches and hockey centre, and Bud Hill Park. This is subject to a recent consent in 2017. Fence here is similar to what's proposed at Cathkin Park. There were a number of other examples in the document, and I'm sure you could probably everyone could probably think of at least one example within their own wards. Club highlight that there's fencing around similar facilities within close proximity to the park as well. One at Holyrood Sports Centre, just at the top here, and Tory Glen Regional Football Centre have a number of pitches which are fenced. To address some of the concerns being raised about access, the applicant has provided a map just showing the proximity of other public parks that are available for use. They also provide a summary of the land which would be enclosed, which represents about 20% of Cathkin Park. This is just a kind of closer view of the same map. It just shows that there are two public parks within close proximity where informal play could be undertaken. I just want to confirm that this is a private facility and subject to a lease, the playing area. So there is a need to protect the pitch from unauthorised use and damage. The club could control access at any point using their permitted development rights, but they're looking to extend a fence above 2 metres. So this is why they've had to apply for planning permission. I'd also like to just confirm that this is not, although there is a concern about use and access, this is not a question of use of access. These are controlled by the site's designation as a playing field in the formal lease they have in place for the council. We are limited to assessing the visual impacts of the development. The purpose of this slide is just really to demonstrate that there are options for casual users and that there's the remainder of Cathkin Park. There's Queen's Park, Rec Ground and Tory Glen, which are all within walking distance. So our recommendation is to grant subject to conditions. The conditions are listed here and within the report, but mainly relate to the submission of a construction management plan so that we can avoid damage to the wider park during construction, as well as a detailed landscaping plan to cover the bund and tree planting. That concludes my report. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Middleton. Thank you for your report. Do we have any questions for the officer? Councillor Leinster.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Middleton, for the presentation. If I remember rightly, when this first appeared as a planning application, or as maybe before the application was actually submitted, there was a suggestion that there might be trees removed from the park as part of it, but I don't see anything about that in this. I take it that's no longer part of the application. You're on mute.
Apologies. It was never part of the application that the trees would be removed. You can see it's contained around the playing field itself. There's no trees there. They don't have control over the terraces. That's not part of their lease anyway. That's under council control, and they're not proposing anything around there. If anything, they're going to be providing additional park planting, which is a positive. It's something we've managed to negotiate out of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wardrop.
There's mention of flooding, and do we have any concerns about flooding as part of this planning application? Has that been discussed at all? Thank you.
No, I mean it's the site itself may obviously get wet. They'll have drainage for the football pitch itself. It doesn't pop up as being within a flooding zone. I think some of the issues were about the boundary fence, whether that could potentially cause flooding or obstruct floodwaters if that ever happened. But it's an open design, so it's not necessarily got boarding around it, which would stop debris if there was ever an extreme event that resulted in a flooding of the pitch and surrounding area. The floodwaters would be able to pass through the fence itself anyway. But the site itself doesn't pop up as being within a flood zone under SEPA maps, and there's certainly not the development itself. You know, the formation of the fence isn't in itself going to redirect floodwaters or cause any concern in regards to that.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to check as well if there's any signage going to be displayed on the fence at all, and if there's any guidance being issued to them on signage.
Not that I'm aware of. They haven't indicated that they would be proposing any signs, but that would be a separate application under the advert regulations. There's express deemed consent, which is similar to PD rights for a plan application that allows you to put up certain sizes of signage, but it's really small. So if they were going to put something up, it would be probably similar to what we put on public parks, just to highlight this is Queen's Park or this is Tory Glen Park, that sort of thing. If they were looking for larger signs or banners or anything like that, then that's controlled through the advert regs. And I think we probably have some concerns about maybe the commercialisation of some of these fences if it ended up like that.
Yeah, I would want to be clear that there's no signage being added that would be a detriment to the visual amenity of the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wardrop. Councillor Leinster, you wish back in?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sorry, I meant to ask before. Will the gate be locked when the actual users, when the Jimmy Johnstone Academy aren't using it? So while I understand that they have the lease, would it be, would there essentially be the opportunity for kind of informal use of the space out with the time that it's being used officially, basically?
I'll be honest and I'll say I doubt it. I doubt they would want one of the main issues they're having at the moment is that because it is open, there's a lot of misuse in a way, and they've had, and certainly when we were out on site having a look at it, there was a lot of people walking across the pitch and using the pitch for dog walking and just kind of informal play, things that would normally happen in the rest of the park. Remember, it's only 20% of the park that's been taken up here by or enclosed. They are maintaining the access. You can just pop this plan back up just to show you that they are maintaining access around the pitch, so you would still be able to get around the kind of historic terraces and that sort of thing. But the main focus or main purpose of this is so that they can actually invest in the park, the football pitch, and maintain and protect that investment as you would expect. And it's no different to what we have in other parts of the city and other sports centres, or there's the Holyrood Sports Centre just up the road as well. That it's an area of investment. It's something that they're looking to put money into. So there is an expectation that they would look to protect that. So no, I think within their lease there is a requirement for public access, but as far as I understand, the lease covers this kind of this area here, and they seem to be maintaining an element of access there.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Billy Radger.
Thanks, Chair. I think this is an excellent idea. Give something to the area, especially for Jimmy Johnstone Academy. Great to have investment coming along to the area as well, along with the youth, especially the area that youth needs something to do. And that is an idea that we're sort of supporting this, because it brings youth into this form of playing field, and playing field will be covered with a ranked fence. Only question is that if the lease is long lease or is a short lease, and the lease is the name of Jimmy Johnstone Trust, how long is the lease? And having the name of the play, I think would be an excellent idea for the youth. Thanks.
I believe it's about 20 years. I don't know. It's not necessarily for us to look at the lease side of it, but from what I've read through the sport information, it's 20 years at the moment. And the subject to an annual fee. I think they pay the council an annual fee for that as well. So.
Fantastic. It is privately owned, as a local authority owns it?
So it's owned by it's within the public park, so it's owned by I think ultimately is owned by the council. There may be certainly they've entered a lease with the council in regards to
is
that.
it boundary of Glasgow City Council, or is it Cathkin East Kilbride?
Yeah, Glasgow City Council they've entered the lease into.
Thanks.
Into lease with.
Thanks. Thank you both. Thank you.
Councillor Burke.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks to the officers for the report. I think, you know, looking at the pitch, but I can understand why they want to put the fencing around it, and I think it looks quite cosmetically pleasing. We have a few of these types of pitches in my ward, and for the, you know, to make sure that people aren't abusing the pitch, I think it's the right thing to do by putting the fencing around it. But you know, I'm not sure if it's removing public access. I know you mentioned something about that. The officer said something about that there. You know, being removed, that public access is being removed, and I was just wondering if we could confirm if that's the case. But also, I think, you know, about is there additional changing rooms being added? I'm just looking at the papers, and it doesn't look to be the case, but I just wondered if that's going to be something that's getting looked at, if they're going to add additional changing rooms on. Thanks, Chair.
Mr. Middleton, can you?
I was just trying to find the aerial view there. Sorry, just to kind of show there. No, there's no changing rooms. To answer that first question, there's no changing rooms proposed. These reds kind of structures are just really the porta cabins that are sitting within the car park at the moment. Those porta cabins hold all their equipment, so like nets and goalposts and footballs and whatever else that they require. At the moment, they get stored within those porta cabins, and they carry it across over to the pitch. So the idea is that those would be moved over into within this protected fenced off area, and that's they would be associated with just the ongoing use of the football pitch. In terms of access, I think there were a number of objections picking up on the Land Reform Act, just about, you know, the right to roam and right to roam across all land. Within that act, there are a number of exclusions, so that is different. I think, as far as I understand it, it's different to rights of way. So that, you know, there's the rights of way which are historically protected, and the right to roam is to provide access across all land. But there's exclusions within that, in playing fields or land developed as a playing field is excluded from those rights. But what they have tried to do is obviously keep the fence in from the edge of the terrace, so that if members of the public do want to walk around the pitch, they can do so unobstructed. And that's really what the red hatched line is showing, that there's still a route round if you want to take a walk and just kind of take in the park itself, or walk a dog or whatever else. So there will still be access around the park. It's not obstructing access across any of the rest of the park.
Thanks for that. It gives me a bit of comfort to see that they've still got as you say, the walk round the actual pitch itself, but the pitch is still being protected by the fencing going up. So thanks very much for that response. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burke. Councillor Allam.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the presentation. I think it's certainly a good idea to develop this particular site because of the historical significance that this particular part of Glasgow has with regards to not only Glasgow but Scottish football history. And it's good to see the trust putting in lots of money to protect the surface. I know grass surfaces are very difficult to maintain to a decent quality. Nowadays, most sort of smaller clubs and sporting organisations are turning towards the artificial kind of 5G surfaces. I was going to ask that question, whether that's the plan to do that, but it was already answered in the presentation. Yeah, I think as long as there's still accessible parts to that particular park for dog walkers and general public, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. Certainly good to have some kind of sporting activity back within this part of the south side of Glasgow. Just wanted to get that make that point. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Billy Scanlon.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, honestly, this is a no-brainer for me. I'm sitting here and I'm looking at that. I'm seeing the pictures, obviously, before and after, and the state of the pitch all rutted. You see car tracks and whatever else it is, and with the foreman and these dogs on the pitch as well. This is an area that I know really well. I played in that pitch a long time ago. It's really looking to need to get dressed up. And what we're getting told here for the applicant, I've already spent, I believe it was £10,000 in the upgrade of the pitch. And for the life of me, I can't understand why anybody wouldn't see this as a golden opportunity. The council, we all know what the finances of the council's like, and this applicant here has secured £500,000 to actually invest in this area. And I just think it looks absolutely marvellous, and I would be delighted that obviously we're proposing to grant this, and hopefully that will be the case. Thanks very much, Chair.
Thanks, Billy Scanlon. He'd never told us before he played for the 3rd Lanark, but there we are.
No, it wasn't. It was just a bounce game, and obviously Queen's Park were there as well.
Of course they were. Yeah, absolutely. Councillor Wardrop.
Sorry, I just needed to clarify the materials being used. The storage area, there's 3 storage sites mentioned in the drawing that are marked red. Are they going to be red? Are they going, or are they going to be green, keeping with the greenery around them? Can we specify a colour for those? And also there's a 2 metre wide asphalt hard standing proposed. I just wondered why they need that. It's hard standing. It's going to change the nature of the ground surface. And I'm not sure, we did talk about flood risk. It says it's porous, but I just want to understand why they've requested that particular surface at that particular location. And the rest, and the walking route round, is that it's still going to be grass? Is that right? Thank you.
Sorry, I referred to them as porta cabins before. They're storage containers. The storage containers, I think they've just highlighted them red as just to demonstrate them. They're being located there. We've not proposed a condition on the finishing of them. I think they do have porta cabins there at the moment. I think I do have images if I can get to them. Unfortunately, they've been subject to graffiti, but you can see these are the containers here. Now, if we were minded to support the recommendation, I don't think there would be any issue about controlling the colour of them. We could add that as an additional condition just to make sure that they are an appropriate colour. The second issue, just about the asphalt path. This kind of just demonstrates the condition at the moment. So it's mainly loose stone, but as you start to move towards, I don't know if I've got a picture, but as you start to move towards the pitch itself, the path is more like a kind of hard standing, and is probably easier to access really for those using it, rather than the loose stones which are here. So the asphalt path is consistent with what you would probably expect for within a public park. But if there was concerns about that, again, we could just ensure that it was a porous material that they were using, whether it is an asphalt, like a tarmac or something, or whether it's got a sort of drainage alongside it, just to make sure that it's not going to result in additional flooding. But when you think of the scale of it in comparison to the size of the park, it's not going to have a detrimental effect on in any kind of flooding concerns. But again, it's something we can control through the materials. There is a landscaping condition, and that does cover an element of hard landscaping as well as soft landscaping, so it's probably already covered, but it's something that we could note when we're in discussions with the developer when we're signing off the condition, just to make sure that it is a porous material that they're using there. The final part, just about the access around, they've not indicated that that would be a hard surface, and if they wanted to turn it into a hard surface, the red hatched area, then they would need consent for that. I think they're just demonstrating that there's a 2 metre walking route. In fact, they've said here to be left as natural grass. Sorry, so they're proposing to leave that as soft landscaping.
So just to clarify, there is an existing kind of path of hard standing.
There's two. You can see this in this plan here. There's one here, and there's a second one here. Let's see if I can find an aerial view. You can see them here.
Oh yeah, so the hard standings just to join up with these other two areas.
Yeah, these are existing. I'm not sure what the condition of that one is, but that's where that the kind of the stone path was. But you can see it's a sort of solid tarmac that runs all the way through there. But that doesn't mean that we can't ask for it to be kind of a porous material when looking at that condition and signing it off.
Yeah, I would try and keep it green with some sort of porous material on top. Some that maybe it makes it. I don't know if they've got wheelchairs or others. I don't know why they would need it to be added in. It'd just be good to justify it and try and avoid it if possible.
You can get porous materials that are almost like a tarmac anyway, that provides equal access, so it isn't just chipstones that we'd be looking at. You could look at something that allows water to permeate through it.
Yeah, that'd be helpful. Thanks.
Or similarly, they can put in these natural grass surfaces with the protections around them that gives a hard surface while still being a live grass surface. So, but we can have that as a condition, and that'd be something that could be discussed post application, should we be minded to grant. Billy Raja.
Just a quick one. I think having a green, Jimmy Johnson will be delighted to have that color after his death and his trust. We need to be very careful, a condition that we are adding in, the cost effective, because being a trust, a lot of money is not being, already is putting a lot of money into this, and we don't want to be conditioned where the cost will be high. So planners should look into that as well. The cost is more important, because having a trust and charity, you don't want to be too much burden onto the investors. So we need to be more reluctant. I don't think the color is going to make big difference. I'm sure that they will change it to green, but we need to be much, careful about restricting people into this sort of investment. Thank you.
Sorry, folks. Thank you, colleagues. I see no further hands up for questions, so I think we should move to deliberation and decision making. Certainly, Councillor Leinster, I beg your pardon.
Sorry, Chair, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I was just trying to get in with my views. So I understand that there's a lot of opposition to this locally. It's in my ward, so I'm well aware of that, and I know that a lot of people have received emails from local residents about it. It seems to me that there's two issues here. And I think the first issue is the fact that they have a lease over the site. That's obviously not what we're discussing today, and that's already been granted a number of months ago. So ultimately, whether people agree that that's the right thing or not is kind of irrelevant. And what is relevant, obviously, is that now that they've got the lease, how the site is developed and what you know, and what they do to try and preserve the investment that they're clearly going to put into it. And ultimately, notwithstanding the unpopularity of the proposal locally, I think they have that absolute right to be able to protect it, and the investment in the area is welcome. It's obviously, you know, we've kind of discussed the fact it's a quite a historic site. It's, you know, and it should be preserved, and if it can be preserved and used again properly for, you know, for what its original purpose was, playing football, and then I think that's a good thing. I think that the kind of track around it, and as has been mentioned, the fact that it's only 20% of the overall space in the park is a comfort. It still allows plenty of space, but I do understand that people use what's currently the pitch to exercise their dogs, for children to play on, and that's kind of why I'd asked earlier about the opportunities for people to go in and use it when not formally in use, but I do understand the reasons why that wouldn't be possible. Just very briefly, there's the Jimmy Johnson Foundation locally are not considered to be very good neighbours in this area, and I deal with a lot of complaints about their behaviour kind of with regard to parking and cars coming in and out of the park. None of these are planning concerns, but it's just more a point that if we are minded to approve this today, then, you know, I'm going to be following them very closely, and I'm going to be making sure that they do everything that they should be doing, and that they make a conscious effort to be better neighbours to the community. And I'll certainly be meeting them to talk about it. But yeah, I think on the whole, this is probably a positive thing for the area, given that they have the lease over it and they are therefore entitled to look after the pitch.
Lovely. Thank you, Councillor Leinster. Billy Kerr?
Thank you, Chair. And I don't know if I can add too much after Councillor Leinster putting all that. I think that was a very well made point. I'm supportive of this application. Oh, sorry, I can hear something else. I don't know if it's, I think Bailey Radgers are muted. So no, I just said I'm supportive of this application. I think Mr. Middleton made an excellent presentation. I stay literally around the corner from the one that was mentioned in Bud Hill, and I know how much of a good asset it's been to the local community having that football field there, but also fencing it off, because I think Mr. Middleton put it very kindly when he said, was it a lot of misuse, which I think is code word for dog disposing their waste. I think it's probably the best way to try and say in a planning meeting this early. So I think that this would be a great addition to the local community. I think we'd be able to enhance the area. I think that the way that we've seen it, the visuals that we've seen, looks very good as well. So I'd be very supportive of this application. And I think looking at it, we all may be very supportive of it, which would be very nice for the festive season to all agree for once. So thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Billy Kerr. Colleagues, I mean, I'm hearing clearly Councillor Leinster's supportive, certainly having brought the paper with a recommendation to grant. You know, obviously I'm supportive of this application. I'm hearing so far I've not heard of any alternative views. Is anyone minded to refuse this application? I'll take that silence as we agree, and I think we are then going to grant this application as recommended. and I think there was the extra condition regarding the surfaces of the that need to be discussed with the planning officers to create at least semi-permeable surfaces. If there are new surfaces going in, I believe that's how we were going to manage that, Mr. Middleton.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a condition that's covering landscaping, and that looks at hard and soft landscaping, but we can adjust that condition just to add a little bit on. I think there was the additional one about the storage containers as well. Just
exactly. Yeah. You beat me to it there. I was then going to get to that. So no, not at all. No, quite right too. No, I think that's helpful. So colleagues, I think on the basis of that, I think we can agree this application with those tweaks and additions to the conditions.
Agreed.
Thank you.
That
Agreed.
application is granted subject to the conditions detailed in the report, along with the advisory notes and the 2 additional conditions. That now takes us on to item 2 on the agenda, which is regarding the lockups at 2 Botanic Crescent Lane. It was an application for planning permission and also an application for conservation area consent. These both applications have been withdrawn from the agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wyber. Councillor Kerr?
Sorry, I completely forgot to unmute myself there. I'm just wondering if Mr. Dale could come in on this point, because I know that there was an email circulated to say that it was because of a staff sickness in terms of why this application was withdrawn, which I completely understand. But it seems to me, would it not be appropriate for another planning officer to be able to take this? I don't know if that's appropriate, if that's able to happen, but I'm just wondering if Mr. Dale can give some clarity on that issue. Given the fact that we've obviously, as a committee, decided to have an extra meeting during recess, I think it's probably disappointing that that's not on the agenda. And the last thing I was going to ask is if we could get some sort of timescale as to when that will be coming back, because obviously I know that applicants will have been expecting to come in, so it's just to see if that will be on the agenda when we come back from the new year. Just if Mr. Dale can clarify.
Thank you, Billy Kerr.
Yes, just
Mr. Dale.
Down to the timing. Ultimately, we discovered one of our colleagues was the presenting colleague was ill. Just the amount of time allowed to prepare a presentation, pull together the details, and familiarise yourself with the detail of the case. As you can see, as we've seen from today, members will ask a lot of questions, and I think that we are reluctant to bring a case where we just simply don't have all the facts at our fingertips. So there's a lot of work that goes into preparing cases. So that's the reason why I would be reluctant. I would be disappointed if I was an applicant and had a case presented and actually it's not been given a full and fair hearing because officers simply don't have the facts at their fingertips. We don't have the resources to have a substitute, and obviously this is the first time this has happened in my tenure in this role as well. So it's unfortunate. In terms of timescales, we'd contacted the applicants agents last night and every intention of coming back to the first committee back in January as well. So the delay is minimised from that perspective.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Mr. Dale, for that. I completely understand in terms of timing and things. I wanted to just clarify that a couple of points, especially in a public forum as well. Okay, thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
While I'm here, can I just say thank you everyone to officers and community services and councillors for agreeing to this additional committee. It's been very helpful. So thank you very much.
You're more than welcome, Mr. Dale. And I think that concludes our business for today.
It does.
So thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Ms. Wyber, and thank you to the planning officers. Have a decent Christmas and New Year. And